A woman should be who and what she wants. We support the multifaceted woman. The woman embracing many titles, undertaking different ventures, and building generational wealth. You are a Jackie of all trades, master of your empire. Enterprise Empress, you are an unstoppable force.
Hey everybody, we are so excited. We changed our time and we get to talk to you at 8 p.m. Well, that's what we thought we were going to do.
8:15-ish.
8:15-ish, 8:30.
Something like that.
Work with us, we're learning. So if this is your first time tuning in, this is the Today's Jackie Show. We interview multifaceted women who are Jackies of all trades, master of their empires. And I am so excited about our Today's Jackie. So our Jackie of the day, Desiree Queen. Welcome, Queen.
Thank you. Welcome,
Thank
Desiree.
you.
Thank you
So-
for joining us.
I like her last name. So do you prefer we call you Queen today or Desiree?
It's fine, either one.
Okay, so you guys, if this is your first time, I'm one of the co-hosts, Sharon.
I'm Natalie.
And then we have our co-host, Neidy, who is tuning in virtually. Hey, Neidy.
Hey, Neidy.
Lady.
Neidy, can you hear us?
We can't hear you, Neidy.
Oh, because I'm on mute.
Oh. So we figured all that out. How are you doing today, Neidy?
I'm fantastic. So excited to join you guys.
Yes, so we're excited because this is our first time outside of the Miami Community News station.
Yes.
We're trying out a new thing, going to the actual location and interviewing these women from the community and just really highlighting what they're doing.
Right. Where they're doing it. Not just what they're doing it,
Right.
but where they're doing it.
So, Neidy, how does everything look? Because, you know, from your end.
I already texted you. I said that studio looks fantastic. I love it.
Good. So if you don't know about down south Miami, that's where we're coming from. Everybody's always talking about North Miami, right? Like Overtown, Miami Beach, South Beach, Wynwood. But we are south of South Beach, south of Kendall. So we're further down, like we're going into the water, to the Keys. So, but we want you to know that there's more to explore in South Miami. And now we have a new soul food restaurant right across the street from Southland Mall, which is our Cutler Bay area. And our guest today is the new manager of that restaurant, Desiree Queen.
Yes, thank you.
So, Desiree, we like to start the show because, like Sharon said, we do interviews with multifaceted women, right? So we like to start the show with getting the titles of our guests. So tell us, what are some of your titles?
Well, I have a few. So outside of being a child of God,
Yes.
I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend. I would say I'm like a mom because I have little siblings that I'm like a mom to when I have them. But outside of that, I'm also a leader in my church. Shout out to the Purple Church. And now I've become the manager here at Auntie Ruth's Kitchen.
Okay, so let's talk about that. That's really what I wanted to get to. Let's talk about that transition into becoming a restaurant manager. How did that come about? Tell us.
Whew. Okay, so actually when I first came on board, I was just doing the marketing, social media. That was all I came on board for. I was working for a mental and behavioral health company, Beacon Health. At the time, the job was getting ready to end, and they wanted to transfer me out to North Carolina. So I didn't take on that position. I stayed here, and my pastor Anthony Reed, came to me and asked me would I like to take on the position of doing management. So it was literally a smooth transition. Like my job ended, and then like a week later, I got asked to be the management for the restaurant.
But I feel like she's downplaying it a little bit. Neidy, because you know when people get on, they get a little nervous, so they say it all night. Let me tell you, this girl was hustling with the marketing. So Natalie and I have another company as co-stars, and we'll be doing the grand opening, right, for you guys. And we started working with Desiree, and she was just like on it with the marketing. And so I think maybe about the third meeting we had, he kept referring to her as the manager, right?
Yeah.
And she has been killing it. She is on top of things. Like, she is an admin queen. She has great customer service. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to interview you, because this show is about helping people ignite and spark that dream. So sometimes you'll think back and it's like, did you ever have a dream of managing a restaurant or doing anything like this?
Never. No, I never did. Even in the hospitality, I never just imagined just being here. So my pastor has this thing where he throws me out in the water and I just be swimming. But I thank God for it, because sometimes people see things in you that you necessarily don't see in yourself. So I just thank God for the opportunity and him and Pastor K seeing that in me, because I really did not have no idea. So when he came to me about it, I was like, me? And I took it on, and I've learned a lot. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to serve South Dade, the community, here at Andy Ruth's Kitchen.
So let's talk to the women out there. So I'm sure there are a lot of women who you have some people who kind of know what they want to do. They have the vision board, they have the dream, they have the concept. And then you have some people who just have a heart to do more, but they don't know what it is. And then you find these people like Pastor Anthony Reed, who is the owner of this restaurant, who, like you said, sees something in them. So what was that like? Was it fearful? Did you immediately say yes, or did you was like, I don't know?
I was fearful. To be honest, sometimes I still get fearful, because just not the unknown, just not knowing. But it was, when he asked me, it was like maybe 2-3 days later, I was like, okay, I'll take on the position. So yeah.
What made you finally decide?
To be honest, I prayed about it. I'm gonna be honest. And then I also felt like, dang, he sees something in me that, like, I didn't see in myself. So I'm glad I did decide to do it, because it has pushed me out of my my comfort zone. So just being able to engage with people more, different personalities, just being out in the community, the whole process of building a restaurant and all the logistics that it takes to get it up. So I've been able to learn a lot. So I'm thankful for it. The growth, yes.
I was actually going to ask how much of your faith and your value system informed that decision to go ahead and take the position.
So prayer is definitely a key in my life. So at that time, at the time when I prayed about it, I feel like anything that you pray about and it just come easy, I just feel like it's of God. So that was that moment that I was just like, okay, this is you, Lord. That peace that I got from praying about it. So literally, it took about 2 to 3 days for me to give an answer. It wasn't automatically, because it was a lot to take in at first, because I'm like, woo, coming from customer service in a call center to management, it's a whole different thing, because now you're having to deal with people face to face, the logistics of the restaurant and everything that was needed to be done. Again, I've never done it before, and Google was my best friend, because I had to Google a lot of stuff.
Google is your best friend.
When in doubt.
When I was in doubt, I'm like, how do you do this? What is this? What does this mean? And so that's pretty much it.
You say pretty much it, like that's something simple.
Well, it's not simple, but I'm trying to keep it. So, that's it. Yeah.
So, Neidy, you started off as our certified expert. You was our Guard Your Genius expert. You would come on and teach us how to guard our brand, right? And then, I don't know if the viewers fell in love with you or Natalie and I fell in love with you first, but we know everybody end up in love with you, right?
It started with us, and then it kind of grew from there.
Everybody was like, where's the girl with the big curls? She straightened her hair today.
They're tame today.
So you turned into a co-host from being a pop-in segment of our show. And so now you're one of our co-hosts, but we wanted to keep that momentum going, right? Neidy was like, look, this has to be an expert show. We have to be able to help people. So we are announcing today that a part of our show, we will always do what is called the certified expert segment. And we'll always bring on someone that has experience in the area that our guests or the topic that we're discussing. We want to help our guests, not just the viewers, but we want everybody to kind of help each other. We're trying to win together, right?
This is a multifaceted show.
That's right.
About multifaceted women.
You got it, Neidy. That's the best.
That's the attorney with the
There
words.
it is. The attorney with the words. This is a multifaceted show with multifaceted women. So we have our certified restaurant expert coming on today. I am so excited. She happens to be a good friend of mine as well. So, Nat, let's introduce our new certified expert for this show.
So let me tell y'all about Adrienne, right? So I was reading Adrienne's bio. I was like, oh my goodness, wow. So Adrienne grew up in Chicago, and she, according to her bio, she started when she was little working in the kitchens with her mom, because her mom was a restaurant manager. Mm-hmm. So from the time she was little, she's always been in restaurants in some form or fashion, which I think is interesting, and I would like to talk about a little bit. She's a graduate of FAMU.
You can't go fast that.
That's why I paused.
You can't go fast. All right, that's that rattler. We can't
have
go
a few
fast.
rattlers in the building, so I knew we were going to need to take a moment for that. Since then, and even actually while Adrienne was in college, she's worked in restaurants, she catered events. She's worked from Florida, the Gulf Coast of Mexico, New York. She also, which I find interesting, she worked at the Le Bernardin. Now, Adrienne, if I pronounced that wrong, correct me.
That's correct. I mean,
Oh,
none of
look, no, phonics,
So-
Ma, it works. Okay, a 3 Michelin star restaurant.
A little smoother, but that's it.
That's it. Which she started as a commish, which I had to look up, which is actually like a junior chef, and she worked her way up to the executive sous chef. Since then, Adrienne has worked for the Marcus Samuelson Group in various restaurants and in various capacities. Marcus Samuelson, for those of us who didn't know or don't know, is Red Rooster. Yeah. He's the owner, founder of Red Rooster.
Which we just got one during this
We have one
pandemic in Miami in Overtown.
Yes. And the ribs are real good. In addition to that, she was the season 15 runner-up of Top Chef.
That's right.
Which means she can cook for real.
Right.
Not just pretend cook. She could cook for real. Adrienne currently lives in Harlem with her husband, and she's the founder of Sunday Best, which is a pop-up series of restaurants, I think, that are held in secret locations in Harlem. So, Adrienne, thank you so much for being with us and for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here with you guys.
Wait, so I have to tell you guys, I was Adrienne's roommate in college, right?
Oh, wow.
And so Adrienne and I both were in public relations, and we both danced with the dance team, Mahogany, at FAMU. And then when we became roommates, Adrienne would just be cooking all the time. Every time we come, try this.
That's
She
the
would start
best
with this.
roommate to have.
The best. She spoiled me. So when I graduated, I was like, who's going to live with me and cook stuff? Because it was like, nobody's giving us anything to taste. And sometimes you'll be like, Adrienne, I've never heard of this. Like, I feel like Adrienne put me on artichoke. That was like, she loved to cook stuff for artichoke. She would do desserts. We'll come home, and Adrienne wouldn't say nothing. We'll come home, and Adrienne's cooking like all these desserts for something. Adrienne, what do you have going on? So,
And Sharon's not telling you the whole truth. She would have to get roped in because I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm catering an event for 80 to 100 people. And it was easier for me as a full-time student to just outsource the catering for desserts from other companies instead of competing for the contract for the overall catering. So I'm saying, just let me do your desserts. I don't want to take the whole contract. You don't have a pastry chef, I'll do all the desserts.
Smart.
Enter Sharon. I'm like, I have a roommate who can help me with all of this. It's not just me on my own. So she walks in, I'm like, Sharon, you have to help me frost these mini cakes or put the pecans on top of the little pies. And by the way, you have to help me pack them and deliver them to this event for the state legislature, whatever it was.
That's smart. I love that even in college you were doing multiple things.
hustler.
oh, yes.
I love
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Yes.
That is what's the best part that I want to share why we thought she would be the best certified expert to talk with you, Desiree, because what I love about Adrienne is she didn't just cook food, but she also worked in writing the recipes, doing the journalism part, the PR part, advertising. Like Adrienne really knows every aspect of the restaurant business, and I think her parents told her she had to go to school before going into culinary. So so you could take a girl out the kitchen, but we couldn't take you take her out the kitchen, but you can't take the love for the kitchen out of her. So we want to talk to you and give Desiree. What's the first question? And guests, if you have questions, please do the comments, and our female producer, Katia's in the house, so she'll ask some of those questions as well. So Desiree, what do we want to know from Adrienne? Oh, Adrienne, Neidy's on here too, our co-host. So Neidy.
Yeah, Neidy, make sure you pop in.
I see her. We're on the split screen here.
Yes.
So what do we want to ask Adrienne about? Look, I'm sure you have a lot of questions.
So I guess my question will be, how did you, as far as management, like, how did that become, like, how were you able to manage multiple restaurants? Because we're starting here now, but our goal is to eventually be able to franchise. So I know you worked with different restaurants, so how were you able to do that and be able to, I guess, keep the same level of management at each, location?
Oh, yeah.
So the most important thing in any restaurant is consistency. You want to get the same meal just as delicious the second time you go to order it as the first time, and the fourth and the fifth. If you're lucky enough that somebody likes your food that much, they will keep coming back, but you have to deliver it in a consistent manner. It can't be good some days and bad some days. Right. So that's the key with restaurants is consistency, and especially when you want to franchise, you have to have systems in place. So you have to have all your recipes well documented. You have to have your food costs down, and you have to have your labor costs down, and you have to have that core system in place with your first location before you franchise to the next one. Because then you're just cut and paste. You know the number of staff that you need to run a restaurant. You know the portion sizes that control the food cost. You have the prep lists. You have everything down to a science. So all you have to do is train the staff at every new location.
Got it. Okay.
And how do you get the recipe down? Because
that's what I was going to ask that question.
Because you always hear that soul food restaurants are some of the hardest restaurants to have. Is that true? And why is that?
Very true. And
why is that?
It's partially because of culture. Like I learned how to cook from my great aunts, my grandmother, my aunts, like people who don't write recipes down. However, other people will take our recipes and write them down and have them set. So we need to write them down for ourselves. And you can tweak it, you can change it. Try a recipe 1 week, get your customer feedback, tweak the ingredients a little bit. But once you tweak them, you have to make sure that your staff is executing according to that recipe. You can't have somebody back there saying, well, I think today it needs a little bit more garlic, or I think tomorrow it needs a little more black pepper. Because that way, when you translate it to the next location, it's never going to be the same. And that is like the death of a restaurant. This location is good, but this location is not. So you have to make sure that test them out. That's what the first location is for. You get your customer feedback. You guys are very lucky to have a core group around you at this location, Desiree. So get the feedback from them. Try a recipe 1 week in one way, and then the next week tweak it a little bit and see what people have to say. Even if you're comping a couple guests on that dish to find out the best version of it, it's worth it so that you have the exact recipe that you want to take to the next location for everything.
Adrienne, it seems like you have a really good handle on the artistic side as far as the cooking and being, hands-on with the food, but also you seem to be very well versed in the business part of running a restaurant. What would you say to the person who is just, I'm a chef, I love being in the kitchen, I am not interested in the business part of it? How crucial is it for young chefs to merge these two identities?
That, I think, is the most important thing. And it's something that people don't always focus on. We're focused on the art and we're focused on the craft of cooking. We just want to make our food taste good.
Right.
So following a recipe can be very difficult because a green bell pepper might be more tart one day. It might be sweeter the next day. So we need to be able to adjust and change our recipes accordingly. That's a great thing. But when you're trying to go for consistency to franchise, it's not about cooking on whim. And if you want to run, like when I was exec chef of Red Rooster in Harlem, I had to manage labor cost, food cost, front of the house, and back of the house. You're not just overseeing your food. That's what you have sous chefs for. They're executing, they're on the line, they're troubleshooting with the cooks on the line, but you're coming through before service starts and you're tasting all the sauces. You're tasting everything to make sure it's up to your standard, but you might get less and less hands-on for the prep. And that's one of the hardest things for chefs, is to let go of the prep side of it. And it was very hard for me too, I'm not gonna lie. I'm so used to being in the trenches with my staff that it was really, really hard to kind of let go. But when you want to get to that next level as a manager, you need to be able to delegate. And that's the hardest thing. You want to do two things. You want to show your staff that you can execute just as well as they can, but you also want to show them that they report to you and you make the bigger decisions that they don't have to worry about.
That's really good. That translates beyond restaurant management.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's business 101.
That's really helpful.
What has been
Yeah,
your...
I mean, I actually learned that from my husband, who's a CEO of a tech company. And he's like, why are you always, we were dating when I was exec chef at Red Rooster. And he's like, why are you the one always putting out all these fires? Don't you have sous chefs? Don't you have senior cooks? Don't you have managers, assistant managers that can do this? I'm like, yeah, but I feel like I need to be the one. He's like, but then your staff can't solve these problems themselves. They're always going to come to you to solve the problem because you're micromanaging them. So I had to kind of step back and realize that I needed to let go a little bit and let them do their jobs. That's why I hired them, because they're talented professionals who are capable of making those decisions, and I don't need to always be involved.
Yeah, oh, that's an expert jewel right there. That's
duplicate
me.
Yourself.
Right.
Yeah,
duplicate yourself. That's right. I used to hear my boss said when I was running around, he would always say, train yourself out of a job.
Yeah.
Like if you're training them to do things right, you should not have to be there. You're as great as your team is. So, oh my God, what has been your greatest challenge since you guys have done the soft launch, but the grand opening is not till February.
Right.
But what has been your greatest challenge with managing this soft launch?
I think, the greatest challenge for us, I believe, has been with the county, has been more of the inspections, the revisions, everything that you have to go back and forth with the county. I think that's been the hardest challenge that we have seen this far. As far as management, I wouldn't say it's easy. It is hard. It's one of those places where, like I was hearing from Chef Adrienne, it's about duplicating yourself, not feeling like I have to do it all. You know, we have other employees to train them to be able to fill in and do this. So one of the things that I've heard that we would like to implement is taking off some of that load off our chef from not having to always do the prepping, but have some prep cooks to be able to do the prepping, so that way it can, alleviate him from having to do it all. So that is something that I'm definitely going to use here. So I thank you, Chef Adrienne, for that.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, we
Well, thank you, Desiree, because our industry is very tough. Managers and chefs are always hand in hand. You're managing everything of the customer experience, so you are incredibly important to how customers see your restaurant and your establishment, and so is the chef. So neither of you want to overburden each other. You want to help take things off of each other's plate whenever you can.
Right.
So I was waiting for Neidy to ask this, but you just brought that up. I thought Neidy was going to say it. So Neidy, I was going to say the rejection that they deal with restaurants. Like, you don't like it, I want to bring this back. People are so picky about their food. Like, Adrienne, how do you prepare somebody for that?
And the threat of Yelp.
Yes. Right, the Yelp threat.
Of Yelp. Yeah,
Like,
take
how do
money
you guys
ahead.
navigate? That is like, that's a lot of pressure.
It is. Well, again, we've only started a soft opening, so we haven't got into our grand opening yet. So we haven't seen that mass of people yet. But so far, we've had great reviews. Thank God we haven't gotten any bad ones yet. Praying for the best. But I guess for me, one thing that we have incorporated, we always try to inspect the food before it leaves out. I think that's very important to make sure that the presentation is everything. So you want to make sure not only is the presentation is good, but you also want to make sure that whatever that ticket is that customer ordered, that's what's in that plate. Because once it leaves out, you never want the customer to call, oh, well, I paid for this and I didn't get this, or this wasn't good, or this wasn't cooked. So one of our main goals is to make sure that we're providing excellence every time a plate goes out the door, or even when that time comes for the grand opening where they can come in and dine in, that we're also providing the best as well.
You know, we
Desiree, your
underestimate the
passion
quality
is so
too.
palpable. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think sometimes we underestimate our experiences. So Desiree was saying how she didn't have experience in the restaurant industry with becoming the manager here, but the fact that you had experience in a call center prepared you for great customer service. And Adrienne, would you say that's a key to a restaurant, is really knowing how to deal with your customers?
Honestly, that is something that a lot of restaurant managers come in lacking. So you are way ahead of the game.
Thank you.
To be able, honestly, even as chefs, this is something we always talk about. When I was running a 3 Michelin star restaurant in New York, one thing that we always talk about is how front of the house cannot operate without the back, nor can the back of the house operate without the front. Because it's one thing for somebody to just bring a plate to your table, but the experience around that is what really makes the whole going out and dining experience special.
And I'm glad
So I can give somebody a plate of a beautifully cooked dish that's perfectly seasoned, tastes amazing, but if they don't have that connection with somebody from the front of the house that really brings that experience to the next level, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be as good. So your experience from a call center really helps you first listen. If somebody tells you when they're dining in or when they're calling because they received an order that's not right, the fact that your first inclination will be to listen and say, I'm sorry for your experience. You don't know how that assuages people, because sometimes people they're upset, but they want to feel heard. They want to feel understood because they've spent their money, they've spent their time. So your experience is invaluable, and never forget that. It doesn't matter if you've been in a restaurant for 10 years or 10 minutes. That experience that you have is going to set you apart from so many people that are managers, and you really need to lean on that and lean on all that training that you had, because that's what brought you here in the first place. And it's going to be what continues to set you apart and makes you a great manager.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And Chef Adrienne keeps using the word experience, because here at Annie Ruth's, we're letting the people know it's not just a restaurant, but it's an experience. So from everything, the coming in, we have a quote or a greeting that we tell every customer when they call. Thank you for calling Annie Ruth's. We hope you're hungry. And every time we say that, they're like, yes, I'm hungry. Can I order this? So I think it's definitely good that you're using that word experience, because that's a word that we use here. We don't want people to just feel like they're just coming to any restaurant. We want them to have a full experience when they come here.
Now your owner, Pastor Reed, he had a specific vision because of his mom,
Correct.
right? So he's a southern guy, and so the whole everyone has a seat at the table is important that he was telling us. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, why that's so important, the whole seat at the table here at Auntie Ruth's?
So definitely because of the civil rights movement. So which the art reveal will be revealed during the grand opening. So as you all know, the restaurant is named after his mom from Charleston, South Carolina. So for him, it basically, I don't want to give out too much information because, again, I feel like if I go into talking about it, I don't want to be a spoiler. So I'm just going to tell y'all to just check us out on February the 5th at 11 a.m. Because I don't want to get into too many details with revealing the reason behind the wall.
But his mom wanted everyone to feel like there was a seat available for them at the table, and that's what this restaurant is going to do, right?
Right.
Everyone is welcome to come in and.
So, and also his mom's gonna always make sure if you come into her home that you're fed. So I think that's another reason why he wanted to make sure on that wall that we had that shows that example of what it is when you come inside his mom's house, the way she treats you, the way she welcomes you, that Southern hospitality. So that's very important.
That's the key. That's Southern hospitality.
Yeah.
Now, Neidy and Chef Adrienne. So we're doing a art reveal as a part of the grand opening, and that is what she's talking about there. This mural that we're going to be presenting has a lot to do with why it's so important for us to have tables that we can sit at and feel welcomed. So if you want to know more about that, you're going to have to come to the restaurant in Cutler Bay. Where is the restaurant located?
So we're located at 20710 South Dixie Highway. That's Miami, Florida. 33189. It's Cutler Bay across the street from the Southland Mall and Publix. You can't miss it. We have a big orange awning, so definitely come out on February the 5th at 11 a.m. That's going to be our grand opening and our ribbon cutting ceremony.
Right, and if you're tuning in and you live outside of Miami, that's okay. That's the beauty of restaurants is when you go to a city. Adrienne, people are always like, what's the best place to eat at, right? So now we have something more to explore down south Miami.
Right.
So
Chef Adrienne, I have a question for you before we wrap up. What is the last pearl that you can give to Desiree as she's embarking on this journey? Like, what's that one tidbit that you wish you had known when you were starting that will help Desiree on her journey?
I don't know if we have time for all of that. But one thing that I can say for sure is Desiree, when you're opening for the grand opening, things are going to get tough. They're going to be busy. There's going to be late nights, early mornings. Just remember, no matter what, to pull up and take a look from a higher perspective. Remember why you're doing this, what you started doing it for, and remember that those bad times will not last forever. You just need to get through that challenge at hand because openings can be very, very tough. It's different from a soft opening. Once you have people dining in and takeout and media and everything, it can be a lot. It can be very overwhelming, but just have confidence in your skills. Don't let doubt take over. Don't let second guessing yourself take over. Just remember who you are, what you're doing this for, and remember that the bad times never last. It's just another challenge for you to overcome and do a great job while you're overcoming it.
Once again, applicable across industries.
Right, Neidy, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yes, that applies to all of us. Remember your why. Remember your why.
And remember your worth, too.
Because
sometimes customers are not always super friendly, but don't let somebody's bad experience make you and your staff feel like you're not doing a good job or like you don't care about what you're presenting to them. Because you do. Even if they had a bad experience, you know, everybody has bad days, but you're there to make sure that the bad days are not as bad as they could be. So just remember that, to keep a smile on your face and make other people feel the joy that you feel from the hospitality and food that you're providing.
Got it. Great.
now we're going to have to bring you on again, Chef Adrienne, because you have a new book that's going to be coming out, right? Sunday's Best. Is that correct?
I do. I just got my advance copy. Maybe it's in the other room. But I do. It's coming out March 15th. I'm very excited.
Congratulations.
And it
Thank
talks about
you.
those, it's the same as you, Desiree, those comfort foods, those foods on Sundays that you love, right? So we have to make sure to not only visit Auntie Ruth's, but we can follow Adrienne so that we can get more tidbits on information and tips that not only work in the restaurant industry, but like Neidy said, across the business. If you have a venture in general, this advice I think is universal. Neidy, so we cannot get out of here without acknowledging our intellectual property attorney. That's why we call her a guard your genius, because she makes sure the brand. So Adrienne said something that I want you to talk about for our tip today. She talked about the recipes and having them in place. How do you guard your recipes? Like, if people can taste it and figure it out, or if somebody who worked there, like, what should you be doing on the legality side, the legal side, to make sure that they're guarding their recipes for the restaurant?
So assuming that it's not like a trade secret, right? Let's take the book, for instance. Adrienne, your book is a book of recipes. Is that what that is?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming that you went through the copyright process, and that's what everybody that creates any type of work that's artistic in nature, and a book of recipes is something that you want to definitely consider to get to put it through the copyright system, because essentially what you're doing is that you're giving constructive notice to the world that you are the owner, that you are the creator of this recipe. So that's definitely something to think about. Sharon, you actually took me somewhere that I wasn't going to go, because the tip today dealt with liability insurance, and I thought it was a great segue.
Oh, good.
When Chef Adrienne was talking about, sometimes customers are, not super friendly, and they may have issues with the food. So for all businesses, but particularly for those dealing with restaurants and food, liability insurance is something that we should all, as bosses, be thinking about to protect our businesses. If we have insurance for our cars and our homes, then our business should also have insurance. Essentially, we are protecting the business from folks that, don't agree with whatever it is that we're doing, and take issue or genuinely did have some type of bad experience and damages. You want to make sure that your business is covered.
Neidy's so sweet. She basically said if anybody want to sue y'all.
Right. Make sure you cover it.
Make sure you're covered.
Make sure you cover it.
Now, how do you cover yourself from your employees and them learning the recipes? Should they be doing non-disclosure agreements, or how does that work, Adrienne, Neidy? Like, how do they protect what those recipes are behind the counter?
So I mean, go ahead, Adrienne. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, as a chef, a lot of time recipes belong to the restaurant that you implement them at. Even as a chef, it can be my recipe, it can be my dish, but once I put it on the menu at this restaurant, it becomes associated with that restaurant.
Right.
And maybe might have another perspective on that, but I know that if I'm the chef of a restaurant, there are certain dishes that I'm gonna hold back until I'm doing my pop-up series, or until I'm opening my own restaurant when I have ownership over them.
So that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say that with restaurants, it's a very particular, industry when it comes to ownership of intellectual property. And that's exactly true. Most chefs come into restaurants knowing that whatever goes on the table is now associated with that restaurant. It becomes almost property of that restaurant. And in some cases, chefs have to sign off that, once this is on the menu, is no longer yours. Mm-hmm. So like Chef Adrienne said, if you are a chef and you just have some, goodies in your back pocket, no pun intended, you may want to keep those for when you have your own establishment.
That's good information. So ladies, we are winding up. Yeah. Like, we made it through this first
We
time.
did. We were so nervous, you guys. It was our first time. So we were running behind, but hopefully you guys stuck with us, because there was some great information here that I think will help us in our business, will help Desiree managing this restaurant, but also will help all of us be better at serving our customers. So thank you so much for your time, Adrienne, for Desiree. We are so excited about your grand opening. Now, where can they find Auntie Ruth's? Are you guys social media, website? Like, let them know.
Yes, so on Facebook, we're on Annie Ruth's Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram as well, Annie Ruth's Kitchen, and Twitter, just Annie Ruth's. We also have a website AnnieRuthsKitchen.com. Please follow us, like our page, share our page. We try to keep, and we respond back to people quickly. So if you got any questions, please reach out. We're actually getting ready to post our grand opening flyer and information online. So yeah, follow us.
And you guys are delivering right now. What?
Correct. So we're on Uber Eats and DoorDash right now. So those are our delivery platforms currently, or they can come call over the phone and we bring curbside.
And we did not spell it wrong, you guys. It is Auntie Ruth,
Yes.
not Aunt Ruth. We're Southern. It's Auntie.
Antie.
Antie.
Antie. Yes.
Everybody's like, you spelled it wrong. No, we did it.
Yes.
We're Southern.
Adrienne, where can we find you on social media and find out more about your book?
On Instagram, I am at Chef Adrienne Cheatham. I have a website, AdrienneCheatham.com. And Facebook is mostly just for like people like Sharon that I've known forever. So there's nothing exciting happening there. But Instagram and the website is where you'll find everything.
We can't wait for your book.
Cannot wait.
Okay, Guard Your
Thank
Genius
you.
expert. How can they get more information about guarding their brand and making sure they're putting legalities before the creativity?
I am on Instagram at Guard Your Genius. That's the only platform that I am active on. I refuse to be on everything else at the moment.
Well, being that we're all on
Guarding your
Instagram, what we need is if you enjoyed this show, if you enjoyed the information, we need you to go to our Instagram and follow us. We need you to go to our YouTube and subscribe. We're going to be bringing guests from all over the world while we're highlighting the guests, while we're highlighting women right here in our community. So, go to Enterprise Empress.
Yep.
It's the same on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And yes, send us some questions. Send us some DM about
Guest
DM
ideas,
who you would like
suggestions.
to. Yeah, suggestions.
Yeah, we're open to them all. So we made it through our first live remote show. Thank you, Desiree.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you
having
behind
me.
the scenes, our producers, Katia and DJ. I was going to call you by your government name, but DJ, thank you so much.
Tune in 2 weeks, you guys. We'll have another surprise for you. And thank you. Share it, follow us, and have a good night.
Good night, everybody.